President Franklin Roosevelt once famously stated, "Books cannot be killed by fire. Since books are filled with ideas, no one can burn or ban them. People can burn the pages of books, but the ideas will live forever in the minds of readers." The act of book burning sourced from censorship. Censorship is the suppression of public communication, whether written or verbal. Government officials, librarians, and even religious organizations censor materials, typically because the materials either contain politically incorrect thoughts, offensive ideas, or subject sensitive plots. Librarians should not promote their own beliefs in a library when purchasing materials. First, librarians should provide materials which fulfill patrons' book requests because censorship limits citizens' freedom to read. Reading a book informs people. It takes readers on journeys to places far from reality. Since reading books provides numerous benefits to the reader, freedom to read is critically important. As the American Library Association stated, the freedom to read is essential to our democracy. Reading is essential to the democracy because it allows people to further form their beliefs and ideas or to research differing viewpoints. Reading is also essential because it allows one to escape reality. Reading transports people to other places and times so they can understand those moments in history. American citizens' freedom to read is continuously under attack. Therefore, the freedom to read is important. According to the Library of Congress, librarians are knowledge navigators. Since librarians are knowledge navigators, they must provide various materials to inform the public. However, they do not have to condone all the materials which they provide. While librarians are under obligation to provide all types of materials, librarians do not have to agree with or recommend any materials they find contrary to their personal beliefs. However, when librarians purposely neglect purchasing materials due to a controversial topic, they have begun to censor the library. At that point, they're withholding information from their patrons, which is opposite of a librarian's duties. When librarians withhold information from their patrons, they are revoking the patron's freedom to read. On June 14, 1953, President Dwight D. Eisenhower encouraged the graduates of Dartmouth College to take advantage of their freedom to read. "Don't join the book burners," he said. "Don't be afraid to go to your library and read every book, as long as any document does not offend your own ideas of decency." In order to allow patrons to choose whatever book they wish to read, librarians must choose materials that cover various topics. People have the right to read whatever book they wish without being condemned or prohibited by any other person. As President Eisenhower stated, readers have every right to set boundaries for themselves according to their beliefs and moral compasses. This process is called self-censorship. Since censorship revokes patrons' freedom to read, librarians should provide up-to-date and applicable materials. Since librarians should allow patrons to set their own self-censorship standards, because public censorship infringes on the rights concerning the First Amendment of the Constitution. The First Amendment states that Americans have both freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Therefore, authors have a right to publicly have their ideas published regardless of the topic. Censorship suppresses the American citizen's right of the First Amendment. Therefore, the citizens' voices have been stifled. For example, Harriet Beecher Stowe's book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, was written to cause white people to abolish slavery. In addition, Stowe wanted to present a character with a strong Christian faith. However, beginning in 1855, the Catholic Church censored and banned this book due to its strong Christian elements, which were considered blasphemous, along with the use of the word nigger. The Catholic Church viewed the main character's strong faith in God as unrealistic and therefore blasphemous. This book has continued to be censored and banned over the years. In addition, the Russian Soviets censored and banned George Orwell's book, Animal Farm, which was written in 1946 because Animal Farm allegedly criticized corrupt government leaders. The Holy Bible was also censored and banned due to religious viewpoints. Censorship infringes on the Americans' First Amendment rights. Therefore, librarians should promote intellectual freedom by encouraging patrons to read the books that are related to the topics of previously checked out books. Third, librarians should unbiasedly provide materials containing many viewpoints concerning controversial subject matters because censorship masks evidence from opposing viewpoints. When people censor materials according to their beliefs, They eliminate materials written about opposing viewpoints. Many dictators burned books as an example of their power. For example, between 259 and 210 BC, a Chinese emperor burned all of the books in his city because he did not agree with the content of the books. If people, including the government, begin to burn or ban books just because they do not agree with the content of the books, then they are beginning to censor materials. In 1933, Adolf Hitler censored books when he burned all of the books which he did not agree with. Hitler, filled with hatred and bitterness, felt threatened and therefore burned all of the books which opposed his belief system. The citizens could only know what Hitler told them, since he burned the books that did not align with his agenda. The lack of educational reading materials caused the Germans to be dependent on Hitler and the Nazis. Therefore, Hitler limited the intellectual freedom of his people. Limiting the intellectual freedom of the people is an example of censorship. Intellectual freedom is important because intellectual freedom allows people to create their own opinions and ideas through reading without being prohibited. Tyrants used book burnings to limit the people's knowledge. Since everyone holds fast to different beliefs, materials containing opposing viewpoints are critical to have in print because intellectual freedom ensures that everyone can read books which are parallel to their own belief systems. Censorship tries to make everyone fit into the same mold concerning various beliefs. However, libraries need to contain materials which cover many belief systems, allowing patrons to choose which books they wish to read. Since censorship eliminates informative resources, librarians should objectively purchase materials for the libraries. Censorship masks evidence from opposing viewpoints. Censorship infringes on the rights of the First Amendment. Censorship also revokes citizens' freedom to choose to read what they want to read.